What? Right. Um. Oh yes, the mockery of the Last Supper by the French during their Olympic opening ceremony. Um. I'd expect that really. I'll go into that. Um. I'll just lighten this up first with this.
This is the court of Louis XIV, and this is the royal we. Are these people mad? Are they perverted? Or are they just French?
Yes. Hmm. Um. If you're English, you know the answer. We take it in with our mother's milk, Jeremy Paxman said. Um, it's our birthright to think that way, and giving up your birthright for a bowl of broth is one thing, but I wouldn't give it up for croissants and brie. Um, so, uh, but our media has lost this important edge to our culture, which actually isn't personal. I think I'll take what somebody on Sky News Australia says now.
They're superior, they're snobby, and but one thing they're not, though, one thing they are not is funny. French people have a terrible sense of humour. They are useless. You want to go, you got to go north. You got to go north. Well, they offended Jesus, so I'm going to offend them. But the interesting thing about this, it's just not it's the sort of thing that a bunch of guys on the end of a season footy trip would think would be hilarious after 30 cans of VB. But the French think it's culture because they are honestly terrible people. Just look at their track record. Napoleon, Emperor Maximilian, they didn't make Indochina. Like, the French started the Vietnam War. How do you do that? Like, everyone blames the Americans. It was the bloody French. They are the...
It's because the French don't come up with any good ideas. As David Starkey says, there is a fundamental principle. If an idea is a bad idea, it's French. Now, basically, the mess the French made in French Indochina led to the Vietnam War, because what their ideas led to that. So the French ideas are always bad. Problem in the Middle East, right? Treaty of Versailles decided where all the borders were, so they crossed ethnic lines. And, well, the borders crossing ethnic lines, that was a French idea, and there is a fundamental principle that if an idea is a bad idea, it's French, and it goes the other way. If an idea is French, it's a bad idea. And we can say something more recent, for instance, like British and French scientists were working on a vaccine, which was called AstraZeneca. But Macron, in all his infinite wisdom, decided he had a good idea, which obviously it wasn't a good idea because it was French. He decided that the French would develop a vaccine of their own, a French vaccine for French people. And basically, so he pulled all his scientists out, and so France ended up being the only country with a permanent seat on the in the United Nations Security Council that didn't create a vaccine, because they thought they'd make one of their own, and rather than work with us, and well, that was their idea, not ours, and any idea that is French tends not to be that good. So it was a bad idea. And obviously, we can take this a little bit further. I mean, obviously, it wasn't a good idea to have it throughout the city and not putting into account the fact it might rain. But of course, it was a bad idea. It was French. And then, so basically, the whole thing is French. But we'll get back to this. Of course, it wasn't a good idea to mock Christ and the Christian faith how they did. But it was their idea. And there is a fundamental principle that any idea that's a bad idea is French. But it's worse than that.
my blood ancestry would disagree that all French are morons.
Really?
However, I will just say statistically in France there are over 1,000 attacks, anti-Christian attacks every year. That's an average of about 3 per day. So this isn't something new for France. We've seen all the damage that.
Right, so we're having 3 attacks on Christians a day in France. Okay. This isn't actually, the persecution of Christians in France isn't a recent development. Right, what have we got here? 1572, St. Bartholomew's Day Massacre, where between 5,000 and 30,000 people were killed under Louis XV. Okay, so that was religious persecution there. The French Revolution, it gets even more bloody. I'm going to put this article at the bottom so you can read it. It's quite a long article. This quote actually tells me that I've never actually read a French philosopher I agree with 100%, which is good. Actually means I'm thinking, which actually means if you actually think, you shouldn't take what a philosopher says as read, because if you do, you're not thinking, and so you're not being philosophical. But that's beside the point. But this is from Voltaire, who was right on some things. He says that every sensible man, every honourable man must hold the Christian religion in horror. This is from Voltaire, who said that he preferred to live in London rather than Paris because of the superiority of English culture. He's right there, but he's wrong there. Obviously. Diderot. Man will never be free until the last king is strangled with the entrails of the last priest. Oh gosh, this is someone. These are their great philosophers. The French Revolution, it led to the de-Christianization of France, the French Revolution. The people who started it, but may not have intended this, but, well, their ideas were French, and, well, we all know that any French idea is a bad idea. Yeah. Where are we? I'm going to post this article. It's quite shocking, but it would, culminating with the tyranny of Robespierre. Gosh, this. Oh, what have we here? The program of dechristenize. Right. Yeah, here we are. Right. The program of wage against Christian people in France increasing with law 17th of September 1793, also known as the law of suspects. It was used to carry out more accurately. Right. 1. All priests and persons protecting them are liable to death on the spot. 2. The destruction of crosses, bells, and other external signs of worship. 3. The destruction of statues, plaques, iconography from places of worship. In 1793, the Christian calendar was replaced with one reckoning from the date of the Revolution, and the festivals of Liberty, Reason, and the Supreme Being were officially, whatever the Supreme Being is, it's probably Knights Templars, Freemasons, all that, who had gone way over yonder and left the faith. Officially, during the 2-year reign of terror, anti-clericalism became more violent than any other. Right. It's got some figures here. Basically ripping down statues and putting up busts of their philosophers and whatever. You read through this. Oh, so when they stormed the Bastille, they got 6 people out of prison. All that bloody bloodshed just to get 6 people out. What a stupid idea, wasting the lives of all these people just to get 6 people out of prison. Of course it was a bad idea. It was French. Right. Oh, wow. One of the most horrendous acts of hatred perpetuated against the French royal family were the ones related to Madame Elizabeth, sister of Louis XVI, and the Princess de Lamballe, a close friend of Marie Antoinette. In an orgy of violence and hatred by a gleeful crowd keen to show their loathing of the daughter of Marie-Therese, Emperor of Austria-Hungary, they did not spare any means to humiliate and violate the most intimate dignity of both women. After their appalling deaths, it is claimed that their heads were placed on pikes and then paraded through the streets of Paris before being waved in front of a window of the temple where Marie Antoinette was imprisoned. The bodies were later dumped at a boundary stone on the Rue Saint-Antoine. God's sake, this is ridiculous. Newly researched documentation on the bloodthirsty reign of terror that swept through France in 1793 and 1794, personified both by Robespierre and the Angel of Terror, Saint Just, clearly indicate the high price paid by France for a revolution that brought havoc and thousands of deaths to the French nation. King Louis XVI was guillotined. Yes, we know that. Basically, well, I guess the Bolsheviks in Russia learnt from the French, didn't they? You carry on reading this, and the persecution of Christians. I mean, we'd had the persecution of the Huguenots earlier, but the persecuted Roman Catholics. Apparently, I mean, no, it was genocide. The first thing to be called genocide was the Holocaust in Germany. And this actually, what they did to Christians, actually is at that level. Now, the French Revolution of getting rid of Christianity led to something else. Now, you see, we Christians have this phrase, glory to Jesus Christ. To him be the glory. Where did this rejection of Christianity lead us? Well, the French wanted another type of glory, didn't they? So we ended up with Napoleon, who wanted the glory of France and the revolution across Europe. So there's loads of bloodshed there. This would not have happened without the French Revolution. Right? Fortunately for the world, Napoleon lost. Went to invade Russia, got to Moscow, they burnt the city down before he showed up, and then he had to march all the way back through all the snow and all that. Ended up in Elba, managed to escape from Elba, and it seems like a work of fiction how he landed on the shores of France and they went to arrest him. I am your emperor and all that, and they all got round him, and he got met at Waterloo and ended up on St Helena, didn't he? And that was it. And ended up eating wallpaper. And so Napoleon wouldn't have happened. And so there wouldn't have been that kind of bloodshed in Europe without the French Revolution. Their other hero is Descartes, and Descartes was wrong, by the way. How can you think without any being, a kind of being? If you have no being, you can't think. So actually, we are, therefore we think. It's not, that it's the wrong way around. And also, without Christ and the pursuit of glory, or the pursuit of liberté, égalité, fraternity, freedom, equality and brotherhood, after a while, it's not cogito ergo sum, it's cogito ergo delio. I think, therefore I am depressed. And this is right, because the French Revolution took Christ out of the equation. So I am a Christian, therefore I think. Okay? I am, therefore I think. I am a Christian, therefore I think. The good book says we have the mind of Christ. So it's all rooted. But not so with French philosophers who have decided to throw it all by the wayside for a glorious republic, which, well, see, the glory of the republic didn't seem that good. So they are French people who will actually say that Napoleon was an absolute disaster for France. To fund his military ambitions, he bled the country dry with taxes, so people were starving. And this is how this thinking leads. And it goes beyond mocking. It's not a surprise that, basically, this is the whole woke philosophy of today has developed from what developed in France during the revolutionary period and onwards. It's actually, this is why we know wokeism is a bad idea, because it's French, okay? That's where it comes from. The same as the Russian Revolution was a bad idea, and what they did, killing the monarchy and all that, their idea was French, therefore it was bad. And it goes further than that. You see, the French revolutionaries didn't just want to not have the lordship of the king, they wanted to reject the lordship of Christ, which has actually held everything together. Which is why the West was able to advance how it did, until people thought they knew better. So this is a natural. What's happened at the Olympics? You see, the French had a head start on everybody else. It was started in France. Absolute mockery of Christianity is where wokeism heads to. Also, the other thing that has to be remembered is that the attack is on Christianity because this kind of secularist thing has been going on for some time. They haven't actually quite worked out how to deal with the Muslims after they've got rid of us Christians. and we can see what means they are willing to use to do it. But like, the idea originated in revolutionary France, and we all know that any bad idea tends to be French. But this is where it goes. They've got their head start. Now, the C of E have decided to follow this, and the absolute mockery of the faith taking place in the C of E. So far, we haven't had a statement from the Pope. I've seen some Roman Catholic people have made statements. Orthodox people have made statements in regard to what has happened. But it's been heading this way for the last sort of like 300 or 400, 500 years at least, to get to the point where outright mocking it, and it's kind of glory to us. We have made it kind of thing, rather than glory to Jesus Christ. And this is where it has led. And the whole woke thing is anti-Christian. And you cannot be a Christian and a wokeist, because I've just explained where it has come from and where it goes. Yes, absolutely, we are against injustice. And we fight injustice. But wokeism isn't about fighting injustice. It's about doing what the fuck you like. And that's not Christianity. And Christianity has held us, and they want rid of it. And this is the whole thing. So you cannot be a Christian and a wokeist.